Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Alec and Alec's Fantasy Experience. Week 1. Let the experience begin.
Walrus, how are you?
I'm doing good. How are you on this fine, Friday afternoon, although the video will be going up Saturday?
Yeah, it's a steamy afternoon, but things are going pretty well for me.
Things rarely said in Maine.
Yeah,
it's a steamy afternoon.
It's been hot up here, a little bit humid. But Walrus, who cares about the humidity when we have football? Real live football, not fake preseason football.
Not flag
real
football.
Live. Not flag football, although we love flag football.
Flag football is a great family fun game. It's also very competitive. Don't fuck around when it comes to flag football.
That's a good point. Walrus, before we get into it, any observations about last night's shellacking by the Seattle Seahawks?
Seahawks are still good. They actually looked a little sloppy. A couple dropped interceptions.
And the Earl Thomas punt experience was a little bit confusing.
To be honest, the whole concept of him returning punts just blows my mind.
Right. It doesn't make sense.
Even if he's the best punt returner on the team, why would you jeopardize his health?
All right, here's a question. How many times better would Earl Thomas need to be than any other punt returner on that team for you to actually have him return punts?
He would
need to be 10 times, right?
He'd need to be Devin Hester.
Yeah, but you have Percy Harvin.
Well, he has the same issue. They're not having Percy Harvin do punts because of injury issues. So then Earl Thomas is a lot better than Percy Harvin.
Yeah, exactly. Earl Thomas is their best player.
I think so.
Yeah, I don't know. That didn't make sense, but Seahawks look good. Packers, didn't look bad.
Packers looked about as good as a team can against the Seahawks these days.
Seahawks looked very good.
Eddie Lacy, by the way, may have come out with a concussion, so watch out for that.
Yeah, that's right.
Without further ado, let's go into our position rankings. Obviously, these do not include players from Thursday night's game, because that information is useless to you at this point.
It's useless.
So at QBs, in our top 5, we've got Peyton Manning, Drew Brees, Matthew Stafford, Andrew Luck, and Colin Kaepernick. You can check out all of their matchups in the video description, as well as our full rankings. But looking at these 5, two that catch my eye in particular are Andrew Luck and Colin Kaepernick.
Yeah.
We like them for very different reasons.
That's right. I was gonna say, Walrus. So we like Luck sort of because of the matchup, but not really because of the matchup. So we got Andrew Luck on the Sunday night game against the Broncos. And although I know the last we've seen of the Broncos was them getting killed in the Super Bowl by the Seahawks, but the Broncos have gotten better on defense this offseason, and they really weren't a terrible defense last year either.
Not at all.
So we like the Broncos defense, but we also really like the Broncos offense. So we think the Broncos are going to put up a lot of points, and Andrew Luck's going to need to put up a lot of points too. So I guess just opportunity is the reason we like Andrew Luck so much this week, right, Walrus?
The thing is, the Broncos, especially against that Colts defense, which is not anything incredible, they're going to put up at least 30 points. I think that's a pretty safe guess. And Definitely. If the Colts want to compete in this game, they're going to have to put up a similar amount, and they simply can't do that running the ball because they don't have Jamaal Charles or Adrian Peterson. In fact, they have the polar opposite of those two.
I was going to say, you don't think Trent Richardson's going to rush for 200 yards?
No, I think he might rush
20
yards on 20 carries.
There you go. So, and then our number 5 guy,
Colin Kaepernick.
And we love him. We love him,
yeah.
He might be do you think he's the hot play of the week?
I think he might be. If it's not Colin Kaepernick, it's Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Oh, yeah.
Things
fair.
Never said.
No, yeah, we love Kaepernick. He's got a matchup against that abysmal Cowboys defense that got worse in the offseason. They got worse. They got rid of DeMarcus Ware, who was their best defensive player, and Sean Lee is not playing this whole year.
Yeah, Cowboys, it's a rough time, and Kaepernick should be able to make easy work of them. He has his full offense. Crabtree is healthy. Kaepernick himself is obviously healthy, although that was never a concern. And yet we expect him to tear them apart. And keep in mind, the Niners' defense is not quite as strong as it was in the past. It's possible the Cowboys put numbers on the board and make it a bit of a shootout.
Yeah, I agree. That's going to be a fun game. I think that might be maybe my favorite game of the week. What do you think?
I mean, Colts-Broncos should be fun, because remember, the Colts beat the Broncos last year in the regular season.
Right, Walrus. Good call.
Or
Yeah, that's...
They beat the Seahawks.
Did the Colts... Yeah, the Colts
beat the Seahawks. I don't remember if they beat... Well, in any case, though, that should be a competitive game as well.
Yeah, it'll be a good one.
Yeah, Colin Kaepernick, very good this week. High-end quarterback one. Most of you, I assume, are starting him anyway, but a little reassurance there. Now, Another guy who most of you will probably start if you have him, although we're not as high as we usually will be, is Cam Newton, who's at number 7. Our next 5 are Tom Brady, Cam Newton, Nick Foles, Tony Romo, and Phillip Rivers. But going back to Cam Newton, why don't we like him this week, and why don't we love him in general?
Well, for some of the reasons we touched on in our preseason draft videos, I mean, we're worried about the weapons with Cam Newton. We're worried about the offensive line. So we'll see. I mean, now, is Cam Newton a good enough quarterback to get through something like that? I don't really necessarily know. I mean, if anything, we've learned in the last couple of years that like a quarterback without very good receivers will be a problem, like Kaepernick last year. You know, he didn't have guys to throw to, and that was a significant problem. He's not, Tom Brady who can... Well, even Tom Brady last year didn't have great weapons and didn't have a great year. Yeah. So the weapons concern us with Cam Newton, and maybe Kelvin Benjamin will be, a better player than everyone thinks he's going to be and be an immediate impact player, but we don't know that yet. And the Buccaneers' defense isn't terrible. They lost to Darrelle Revis, but they were a strong defense last year. The sixth worst matchup for fantasy quarterbacks. So Revis was a part of that, but they didn't play a man-to-man scheme, so it was more zone-type stuff. So, I mean, we'll see, but I kind of agree with you, Walrus. I mean, this year Cam Newton needs to convince me that he's a quarterback one.
Yeah, and granted, we do have him in here at that current spot, but that's more based on his track record. The fact of the matter is, Cam Newton is the only high-impact player on that entire offense.
Yeah,
Kelvin Benjamin, we have yet to see it. Greg Olsen is not a high-impact player. D'Angelo Williams and Jonathan Stewart are not high-impact players. So if they're going to make big plays, it's going to be on Cam's back and really no one else's.
Yeah, we'll see. It wasn't like he was working with great receivers last year, but they were better than this year.
Yeah, exactly.
So, I don't know. Well, we cautioned Cam owners, so if you still went ahead and drafted Cam, we'll see what this year brings you.
Yeah.
I'm a little worried.
Now, looking at the rest of our list, most of it is pretty standard. If you have any questions regarding it, you can either ask me on Twitter, go to our Facebook page, or leave a comment letting us know what your thoughts are, what decision you have to make. But as I hinted at earlier, one interesting option is Ryan Fitzpatrick, who we have ranked number 18th. Now, obviously that means most of you won't even consider starting him, and that's good. That means you drafted a real fantasy.
Congratulations, you drafted a quarterback in fantasy this year.
But for those of you who are in 2 quarterback leagues, Ryan Fitzpatrick is an interesting play as your quarterback 2 this week. He's got a pretty strong matchup, and keep in mind, he's not a terrible quarterback, and he has probably the best receivers he's had in his career.
Oh, yeah, I agree. I mean, for a quarterback 2, I know we are in a quarterback 2 league together, and I think he's a legitimate quarterback 2, for sure. I think he could probably get you 16 to 18 points this week, right?
I think, looking at the guy we have below him, Alex Smith, Ryan Fitzpatrick is just prone to have, a 4-touchdown game, theoretically.
Yeah, I mean...
He's done it at, some points in his career. Yeah. He's also at 4 interception games, but that's why he's ranked number 18, not number 8.
Right, and I mean, keep an eye out for Alex Smith, because obviously Dwayne Bowe suspended this week, so that'll be a little bit rough.
Absolutely, although Jamaal Charles may as well be their number 1 receiver.
Seriously, it's kind of insane.
Speaking of Jamaal Charles, I think we're moving on to our running backs next.
Let's do it.
Top 5, pretty standard. We've got Charles, McCoy, Peterson, Forte, and Foster in that order. Again, matchups are in this description. Going back to the Texans, I know we just talked about his quarterback, but Arian Foster as well. We really like this week. They're playing against the Redskins. And what were those headlines? There were some pretty interesting headlines regarding that feisty Redskins D. Yeah,
so Walrus and I were just, we were looking up the different teams' defenses and stuff, and I just Googled Redskins defense. The first 2 headlines that came up, one from the Washington Post is Texans bracing for aggressive, physical Redskins defense. And the second headline I like even better because it's so
I
ambiguous.
might have to mute my mic for this one.
Yeah,
It's so funny.
You don't even know what this one means. Redskins D, optimistic because of speed.
So does that mean they think they are fast, or they are literally going to be taking speed and helping that the drug boost their performance? I really don't know in either case.
Walrus, to answer that question, a word, yes.
Yes to everything.
Yes, to all options.
So I will give the Redskins D credit. They are probably speed.
Yeah,
they're very speedy, but Arian Foster is more speedy.
Right, yeah, I don't know if they got a huge speed infusion from last year, but they were the fourth best defense for your running back to go up against, meaning they let up a lot of points last year. And we like Arian Foster a lot. And hey, guess what? It's week 1, so Arian Foster's healthy.
The reason Arian Foster is usually outside people's top 10s for running back this year is not because he's not elite. Arian Foster is a very good running back.
Yep.
His yards per carry have decreased over the years, although I wouldn't be too worried about that trend. He is still quite young.
Yep.
And yeah, his health is the only reason that he's generally valued lower when it comes to drafts. But on a week-to-week basis, if he's healthy, you're starting him, no question.
Yeah, I agree. This is a good week for Arian Foster owners, especially if you got him towards the end of the first round, built a strong team around him. This looks like a good week for you.
Yeah, definitely. Next up, we've got DeMarco Murray, Zac Stacy, Montee Ball, Alfred Morris, Gio Bernard, and we've already kind of gone over what we think about all these guys in our draft video. Again, if you have any questions, go in the comments section. But a guy who interests us both a lot more than any of those people is Frank Gore at number 11. Now, for the same reason we like Kaepernick, that matchup is quite tasty.
Yeah, we're not going to go over again how bad the Cowboys are on defense, but suffice to say they're also the best fantasy matchup for your running back from last year. And they did not get better. They got worse.
Yeah, so they might even be like the 33rd or 34th worst or best matchup for your running back.
I've read some stuff about them that there's a significant possibility that they're one of the worst defenses in recent history.
In general, history in general.
Yeah, I mean, totally. They're going to get torn apart. It's going to be amazing. For those of you who don't like the Cowboys, like I do, it's going to be tremendous.
Should be a fun time, especially for Frank Gore and company.
Oh, yeah.
Moving on our list, we got Le'Veon Bell, Doug Martin, Reggie Bush, and we originally had Andre Ellington at number 15. We're not sure if he'll be playing Monday night because of a recent injury. What did he injure again?
It was his foot. I believe he has a foot fracture, or at least an injured foot that they're not necessarily sure how serious it is.
At the time of this video, the MRI has not come in yet, but when we have further information, we will update the video description. That said, if you're an Andre Ellington owner, definitely watch the headlines, but if you're going into Sunday and still unsure if he'll play, we say don't go with him because it sounds not like there's a great chance he'll play.
Yeah,
if he doesn't, your next best option is his backup, Jonathan Dwyer.
Yep, that's his backup. Yeah,
exactly. I didn't even remember his name because he's
pretty awful.
I try to forget Jonathan Dwyer as much as possible.
Pretty awful. Yeah, no. So yeah, you got to be really careful with Andre Ellington, and if you don't know by Sunday morning, you have to take him out of your lineup. I think, right, Walrus? You can't.
Without a question.
You can't gamble.
Yeah,
especially not week 1. You gotta get off on the right foot. Mm-hmm. And coincidentally, Andre Ellington is off on the wrong foot because he might have a broken. So that's what they pay me for. And then who do we have after him?
That's what we get the big bucks for. Comments like those.
Where all the money comes from. We got Ben Tate at 16, C.J. Spiller at 17, Rashad Jennings 18, Shane Vereen 19, Chris Johnson 20, and then
Fred Jackson's just kind of chilling there. We were gonna put him in, but over Andre Ellington.
He would be the replacement.
Yeah,
everyone would slide up. We like Fred Jackson though, don't we?
We like Fred Jackson, and we don't love C.J. Spiller because he tends to be C.J. Spiller and do C.J. Spiller things like
that's right.
Get 20 carries for 25 yards and a fumble.
And Fred Jackson will have 8 carries for 50 yards and 3 touchdowns or something.
Yeah, I mean the thing with C.J. Spiller is he's really fast. He's got a lot of talent, but he again and again defies all that and just plays like crap.
Yeah, we'll have to see.
But that said, both of them are startable this week. Both are low-end running back twos.
Yep.
I'm not overly confident about either because you really don't know who's going to have the better game. If Spiller's hot, they'll stick with him. If he's not, Fred Jackson could have a big game, but both of them should at least get like 8 to 10 carries.
Yeah, that's one of the situations where that's another one of those backfields that I think if you could possibly sit that player, you probably want to give that backfield a little time to work itself out.
Yeah.
So you have a better idea of who's going to be doing what.
Absolutely. Now moving on to our wide receivers. Our top 10 shouldn't surprise you too much. Calvin Johnson, Demaryius Thomas, A.J. Green, Dez Bryant, Brandon Marshall, Julio Jones, Antonio Brown, Alshon Jeffrey, Keenan Allen, and rounding out the top 10 we've got the salsa man, Victor Cruz. Did you see on Grantland the NFL touchdown celebration matrix?
I haven't looked at it yet, but
Cruz is on there. He's in a pretty neutral spot.
Those are good matrices.
Well, they have videos for each one. I didn't know about the Terrell Owens touchdown or thing in Dallas. You'll love that.
Was it the popcorn?
No, it's when he was on the Niners playing again at Dallas.
Oh, really?
He scored a touchdown and ran all the way across the field to the star and like pounded the ball on it.
Oh, that's cool.
And then
did they have the Randy Moss one where he mooned the crowd or fake mooned?
I don't know. I think they had to have at least one Randy Moss there.
You have to figure Randy Moss. Randy Moss was in there somewhere. Yeah.
But in any case, going back to our top 10, unfortunately, we are not living in 2002, and Randy Moss and Terrell Owens are not there.
Yeah, pulling out.
What we do have is a very interesting young player in Keenan Allen.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on Keenan Allen, his matchup, and what we should expect of him this week?
Just kind of an interesting thing because I'm a Keenan Allen owner, big Keenan Allen guy. We love Keenan Allen. We were on that bandwagon early, but Keenan Allen apparently got faster in the offseason. Have you read that about it?
As if that were possible.
Yeah, they're serious. There's stuff out of Chargers camp that were like Keenan Allen got significantly faster in the offseason. So don't know about that, but he is playing the Cardinals defense, and the Cardinals defense is really good. I mean, they were really good last year, and they have one of the best young corners in the game, in Patrick Peterson. So I don't know, Walrus. Are you worried that Keenan Allen might get shut down here?
I'm not so much worried that he'll get shut down as I am with how the Chargers tend to go and like ebb and flow with who their receivers are year in and year out. Like, look at the beginning of last year. It was Eddie Royal, and who was the other guy?
I think it was Malcolm Floyd.
That's
right?
exact. Yep. I always confuse him and Michael Floyd.
That's
on our list. But
Well,
so there's always guys who seem like they're hot, and it's like, oh, that's the guy to own. Keenan Allen's a bit different because this guy really is talented. He's something special. But you just need to be wary with the Chargers because they do tend to pick favorites game in and game out. And, if he's not the guy Rivers is looking to, he could have a disappointing game. That said, he is extremely talented and you should start him. Do not mean to discourage you with that.
Yeah, I totally agree. Next in our rankings, we got Pierre Garçon at 11, Larry Fitzgerald at 12, Vincent Jackson at 13, Roddy White at 14, and Michael Crabtree at 15. And we want to talk a little bit about Vincent Jackson at number 13. And what are we thinking, Walrus? We're not so high on him this week.
So, in general, the Tampa Bay offense looked pretty bad in the preseason. Now,
really awful.
That isn't usually a huge indication of what things will come. It's a new quarterback adjusting to his surrounding core. So, that could just kind of be like adjusting pains that will pass. But also the matchup is not that sexy. Panthers D was number 3 against receivers last year, fantasy-wise. And while they did lose some players, they still have the core that led to them being so high up.
Yep, still have a great pass rush. I mean, they're going to be good. Their defense is going to be good. It's their offense that's going to cause problems.
Exactly. So we like Vincent Jackson. He's great. He's the king of boom and bust in fantasy.
That's true.
This could be one of his bust weeks. You got to start him, unfortunately, just based on the upside that he has. But we're not particularly excited about him.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you drafted him knowing that this kind of thing would be a little bit problematic. You have to bite your nails a little bit with Vincent Jackson.
He's in the NFC South. He has to play the Panthers twice. That's just how it is.
That's right. All right, who we got? Then we got Andre Johnson, number 16, Jeremy Maclin, number 17, Deshaun Jackson, 18, Cordero Patterson, 19, Marcus Colston, 20, 21, Michael Floyd, 22, Emmanuel Sanders, 23, T.Y. Hilton, 24, Torrey Smith, 25, Julian Edelman, 26, the teammate of Vincent Jackson, Mike Evans, who we actually kind of like this week, right, Walrus? We think he might maybe end up with a touchdown.
Yeah, I mean, of the rookie receivers, until Kelvin Benjamin can not be really slow and become...
He's got to go to the Keenan Allen speed off-season camp.
Yeah, if Kelvin Benjamin can become an elite red zone target, or Sammy Watkins can make, what's his name?
EJ?
EJ, yeah, if he can make EJ look like a real quarterback, and if Brandon Cooks can actually find a spot to fit in that Saints offense, then maybe Mike Evans won't be as high up. But for now, he is our top rookie receiver.
Yeah, he's played pretty well in the preseason, too. Again, not that means anything. 27, Cecil Shorts, who we like, as always. We love
Good matchup, and the thing with Cecil Shorts is, if you look at his numbers, and I'm going to pull them up in a second, you can talk about him in the meantime, but he tends to be very consistent, especially considering he is the top option in that offense.
Right.
Now, that said, there is one thing to keep in mind. He is uncertain whether or not he will play due to hamstring soreness.
Oh, please. Cecil Shorts will buy himself a new hamstring if he needs to.
Yeah, so we'll consider him probable for now. It is worth looking into that, but if he does play, he's a great wide receiver 3 or flex, and I'd be excited about him.
I'm always excited about him, especially when he's wearing a pair of shorts.
When Cecil Shorts is playing in a pair of shorts, he's not messing around.
Yeah, he's truly unstoppable in those games. 28, Reggie Wayne, 29, your Jets boy, Eric Decker, and 30, Golden Tate.
Yeah. I don't think there's too much to talk about with these.
Although we were talking when we made the list, we actually think Eric Decker's become somewhat underrated, right?
It's one of those things where he's so overrated that he's underrated. The Jets know he's not an elite receiver, but the fact of the matter is he is the top receiving option in an offense that wasn't totally abysmal last year. They were abysmal passing the ball, but that's because Curley and David Nelson were their top receivers. So hopefully, with the addition of Decker and Jason Morrow, who's looked like garbage in the preseason, they can actually take a step forward and be a legitimate passing offense. So obviously, there's the risk that Geno Smith has a Geno Smith type game and plays like crap, but he's just as likely to play like a completely competent quarterback.
Which he did every couple of games last year. I mean, credit where credit's due. He did have a couple of good games.
It was a couple of very back and forth. He'd have a good game then a bad game. Hopefully that consistency.
He may have. I think he may have had more 20-point games than Russell Wilson last year, which is crazy.
Wouldn't be too surprising.
Yeah. And also, I mean, it's a pretty good matchup. Raiders don't have a good defense.
Yeah.
Raiders don't have a good anything.
Raiders generally just have a bad team.
Yeah, if you're thinking Raiders, start thinking about something else. On tight ends,
we don't really want to talk about
these. Is Jimmy Graham good? Just curious.
Jimmy Graham, when he's not playing the Saints, when he's not playing the Seahawks or Patriots, he is good.
All right, so we like Jimmy Graham. Gronkowski, number 3. Hey, Walrus, is Rob Gronkowski playing Week 1?
Why don't you ask our boy Bill Belichick? What does he say?
Bill Belichick doing the classic we'll know later routine. So for those Rob Gronkowski owners, as always, keep your ear to the ground. You'll see what happens.
He'll probably play.
Right, but he, as of now, hasn't been confirmed to be playing, right?
Well, that's usually... Belichick will do that with guys who are entirely healthy sometimes. He loves to mess around with opponent schemes.
Or he'll just sit guys who aren't even injured. Yeah. I think that happened to Vereen last year.
Probably.
Or no, Ridley. Happened to Ridley.
Well, it didn't happen for no reason. It happened because he fumbled once or twice.
Because he fumbled once in the beginning of the season.
Exactly.
Yeah. I guess that's it, right? I mean, the tight ends pretty much chalk, right?
Yeah, unless you're deciding between Kyle Rudolph and anyone below him. Like, that's the only decision you'll have to make. If you have the number 10 or higher, your decision's kind of been made who you're starting.
All right, well, Walrus, I have one more question for you.
Although I do have Martellus Bennett and Jordan Reed in the league, so...
Oh, do you? That's actually I would maybe start Jordan Reed, but I don't know.
It's tough. I really don't know. It depends how much you believe in RG3.
Yeah, that's true. All right, Walrus, so here's my philosophical fantasy question for you. Some people say week 1, easiest week of fantasy football, because you just start all the guys that you drafted the highest. So let's say your lineup consists of 9 players. You start the first, the first players you picked at each position. Mm-hmm. What do you think about that? Do you think that that's right, or should you do a little bit of lineup manipulation before the matchups?
You're generally going to start your top 5 picks no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
I think beyond that, there's a lot of flexibility regarding it. I forget who exactly it was, but I drafted Jeremy Maclin as one of my starting receivers, and I think I'm actually going to be benching him because I have a better option. I'm going to look into who that is, but what do you think while I figure this out?
Well, that was my question, because when I drafted, it was kind of before the Brandon Cooks phenomenon. And now Brandon Cooks is going as high as the 5th or 6th round, which I personally think is a little bit crazy. Not that he's not great, but, we'll see. It's a crowded offense. But anyway, I drafted Sammy Watkins with my first pick out of the rookie receivers I have. And I also have Mike Evans, and I also have Brandon Cooks. And I'm going to start Mike Evans because I think he's looked better, and I'm a little bit worried about Sammy Watkins with E.J. Manuel. And I'm willing to, have Sammy Watkins have a decent week on my bench. So, I don't know. I don't think it's crazy to start someone otherwise. And you'll see in our rankings, things are kind of close to our early season preview videos.
Yeah, they're definitely...
But not exactly the same. So, yeah, I don't know. I guess you'd have to make a compelling case. There need to be a great matchup in some cases. But usually I do kind of like to start the guys I drafted because, that's what you drafted them for. But I don't know.
You didn't draft them just so you could show them off in front of your friends and be like, look who I've got on my bench. My bench is better than yours.
Walrus, do you ever sit your fantasy football players down in a circle and basically just hash out the week strategy for them?
I try to do that at least once a month just to make sure we're all on the same page and our values are aligned.
Yeah, okay. Because I had a good talk with Russell Wilson last night. Went out and had a good game for me.
Yeah. Well, he definitely didn't have a bad game, but then again, he seems to be motivated by something far different. Like, do you think Russell Wilson is thinking about legacy already?
Russell Wilson's. Do you have an Instagram, Lars?
I do not.
I followed Russell Wilson on Instagram, and he basically, he's an amazing character. 50% of his posts are him at hospitals with sick children. Like, him just taking pictures with sick children. He probably posts those about 3 or 4 times a week.
Yeah, that's what he does.
So, right. And then the second thing are, like, the songs he listens to in his car, and he basically only listens to Christian R&B.
Not just like Christian gospel. Christian R&B.
Yeah, just Christian R&B. Stuff I've never even heard of before. So that's probably like 30%. And then the last 20% is like Go Hawks paraphernalia. Do you hear he had a great Go Hawks on the broadcast last night?
No, but I'll be sure to look it up. I'm sure.
Yeah, it was dope.
They're all great, though.
They're amazing, yeah.
All right, well, I think that's about all we have for our show. Again, follow us on Facebook, where you can ask us questions there and stay up to date on any injuries or urgent news that we need to let you know about. You can also chat to us on there. You can hit me up on Twitter and do shit like that. I don't know what kids are doing these days. And obviously, if you have any questions, comment section below is your place to do so.
Yep.
All right, well, on that note, my name is Alec.
My name is Alex.
And we will see you on Tuesday.
Good luck, everybody.
Bye.